In this session we will cover how we can introduce sockets via Blue utilities as well, and for that let us create a new Blue utility. So we do a right click, go to editor, utilities, editor, utility blueprint. It's basically the same step what we did for virtual bones as well, and we search for asset. It's an asset action utility, and we say here bp underscore socket functions. Let us open it, and then we will need, of course, new functions. So let us create some, which is called add sockets. Add sockets from data table. It's basically the same. Yeah, it's really the same structure we had before as well. So why is it so small here? Let's say data table row. Yes. So data table. Of course. Here we do the split struct. Get row. Data table row, the name. So let us make it a little bit bigger. You can see it better. Here we say print string append node error data table row data table socket row not found. Yes, it converts it for us for string. Move it a little back. So compile, save. Sure, it will give us an error because we did not connect this pin. And here we will do the following. We just call this function like we did before and promote this to a local variable and say L data table. That's the row we need for ALS, so that's more convenient for us. That can just do a right click and then it adds the sockets. And this function here is basically the generic function where you can add sockets from a data table. And we also need one more function where we say dump sockets. As I said, we will do the same. Character, how was it called? Sorry, I did forgot how I named the section. Character tools. Let us use the same here as well. So move this into character tools. Move this here, move this here. Also, yes, we can also order it perfectly fine. And we need to override get supported class, and here we just delete the parent call and say skeleton, because we also want to perform this on the skeleton. So, and let me see what is missing. Yeah, we need a data structure. So here we also go to blueprint structure sttt socket description. Yeah, let's use this. So we can also duplicate this socket descriptions. Open this, say socket description. Yes, convert it to an array, save, and here we say sockets. Close this one, and now we go to this structure. Here we need, let me quickly check, two names. So name, then add variable. So here it will be the bone name we want to attach the socket to, and here we will use the socket name, of course. And every socket has an offset basically, and here we can say, or a relative offset, relative transform. It's not an offset, it's a transform, and here we can say transform. Save, and we can save everything, yes, and go back to this one here, and we can do the following here, where we can say we want to have a local variable and say socket descriptions. So name this variable sockets, and we set this variable here, so everything is fine. So then we try to get all assets, selected assets, and we iterate all, basically for each loop we iterate over each element, not each element, each skeleton. So there we have to cast this to a skeleton, yes. I'm not handling this error case, so it should not happen. But you could introduce a print string here if you want. But I will avoid this to keep it more clean, because normally if everything works fine, the get supported class does this thing for us. So save. And here then we iterate over all sockets. We can also say split struct pin and say for each loop as before, and here we get all the sockets. So yes, that looks fine. Let me quickly check. So here we also need this one. Copy this one, Control C, and go to dump sockets, because yeah, we are lazy and don't want to manually add the data there. And compile, save. So what is still missing? I think we are almost there. Let me quickly check. This is fine. This is fine. Oh no, that's a name. Okay, that's also fine. So what we can do now is create a data table as well. So let me quickly check. Can we also create this from here? No, we cannot. Then we go to data and go to miscellaneous data table. Of course, we select the socket description struct here. Very important to have arrays, and call it gt underscore sockets. And save everything. And we should have the data table. Yes. So what we can do is add a new row and call this ALS sockets. Oh, this window is very small, very hard to type. Can we? Yes. Can make it bigger. ALS sockets. Yeah, there's a typo. So save everything, and we can go back to the socket functions, because here, as we said, we want to have one default sockets. Here we can just select the DT sockets and the row basically. So I think most of the stuff on the blueprint side is set up. So you might wonder already why I'm not doing here anything, and also here, because yeah, sadly this stuff is also not exposed to blueprints, and we need to expose it on our own with custom C++ functions. they will be very similar to the ones we have created for the virtual bones as well. And for that we need to go into the C++ world with Visual Studio, and we will need two new functions basically. No, we need three new functions basically. We will need the dump sockets function, so also rename the section here. Yeah, and we need to, oh no, don't need to. Here we already have also skeleton. We don't need to forward declare this stuff. And we need the function that can add a socket. It's basically this function here. And I like to introduce a section also. Say here virtual bone functions. And here we say socket functions. So, and we need this function here as well. We quickly rename this one. So we need a function which can tell us if the socket is already there. So we don't want to have the same socket name or the same socket name multiple times. That will confuse us. And I don't know if Unreal Engine works with it. You can do it, but yeah, I'm not sure what happens if you have multiple sockets with the same name. And the add socket function, which of course can add a socket with to a bone name and a socket name and a transform, and we need to dump them to the output window as well, so that we can just reuse the clipboard here as well. And yeah, how we can implement them, if we control KO, we collapse them, and we need the library function here, and the class name, remove the static and also the macros here, so that's only done in the header. And here, yes, so the brackets basically, here we say return true if everything was fine. You also return true, everything was fine. Yeah, as you see, I'm getting bored already. So let me quickly check what we need to code. I would say we start with the dump socket function. And for that we will use a similar structure which we had for the virtual bones. So what we can do now is open a new window, and we'll have the same code or the same file, because I want to reuse this stuff here. Check input arguments, that's very important. We need to do it first, then we need this one here. Prepare the string for sockets, and we need to dump them, dump sockets, and of course we will use the same stuff here. We copy all sockets, copy sockets to the clipboard, and yeah, for that we can start very easy with this check here. So called dump sockets, of course, with invalid skeleton. That's the same error we had before. And let me see what needs to be checked as well. So this is this check here, where we say it's really an error. Oh yeah, it's an error. So if you want to dump sockets and we don't have any sockets, then we just return false. And I think here we did this one as well. So it's very similar. And does not contain any sockets. So, and then yeah, we did not talk how Unreal Engine stores socket information. It's very easy. If you go here, skeleton points to sockets, because basically this is a pointer, and then we will see if we press F12 or right click, and then we can say go to definition. Sorry, it's still in German. I did not I did not have the time to change the language here, but it's fine. It's in T array basically, with an object pointer from the type uSkeleton mesh socket. And this we will see immediately which data or which members this class has. And if you want to dump them, it's still the same process. We will need to check if it is more than one, then we will have to create a string for arrays basically. So we need to start with this parentheses basically, and then we will need this loop here. So let me copy paste this here. So we need to introduce this loop. Why is it showing error here? It's weird. Do we need a reference here? No. Strange. Let's see if it works. So to get access to those, wait, let me check. I'm a little bit confused, to be honest. Huge objects. No, it's the same. Let's see if it works. So what we do here is check if the socket is valid. If it is valid and we have count more than one, then we run this line here to introduce a comma, and then we basically create a string that provides the information for sockets. So we get the bone name, convert it to a string, we get the socket name, and then we will use the same approach for the for the virtual bone. So as you see, it's super similar code. And here the relative transform. So there we get the rotation, and let me check the translation as well. So we can create an f vector to string. There's a helper function which we also need to copy paste. So let me quickly show you how you can implement those helper functions. What I do is introduce those helper functions at the end of the file, and we will also have to forward declare them. So that's what I do at the top of the file. Function prototypes, and here we say static, because we don't want that any other is able to call this function. That's a static function within this C++ file. There's no other file which would be able to call this function. And then we can see that we can, let me show you how it's implemented. It's super simple. We get an f vector, and we basically need to convert this to a string, but a little bit different than the function which is available for f vectors basically. But as we need them x equals to the value, comma, y, sorry, not German, y equals to the value and z equals to the value, and then we need to return the string. And for that we can then basically convert the translation and the scale. And here for the rotation we have something similar. There we have 4 values: x, y, z, and w. So then we basically have the string already if we iterate over all sockets. And then we can minimize this, and we go on with dumping this to the console. There we also need to introduce, if you have more than one socket, because it's an array, the closing parentheses, and of course the important stuff. So here we then dump the sockets, and that's not correct. It needs to be shifted. Needs to be moved up. Sorry, it's quite late here already. I can't think already anymore. So, and here we have the copy to clipboard stuff. And then basically we already have the function that can dump sockets to the console. Let me see if it works already. Then we can set up the stuff. And what I'm interested is, can we use the live coding stuff here? Let's see if it works. No, the build failed. So let me close the editor here. And this one as well. And we try to build. I'm pressing F7 here. Maybe it's a different shortcut for you, but it's the shortcut for me. So yeah, I think we can close this one. Maximize the window here. So yeah, sadly we need to wait a little bit to see the compilation process is correct. So why does it take so long? Maybe my computer is also tired already. Seems to be the case. So we need to wait a little bit. Very long. Now it compiles, and we can see the errors here. So what is the issue? Yes, now I know. The thing is, this function does not know, or the CPP file does not know what a skeleton mesh socket is. So let me check. Yes, because this is a forward declaration basically, and we have no header file. So we need to find the header. We need to find the header file or the include file, and for that we can press F12 and see it's in skeleton mesh socket.h. We can do a right click here and copy the path, close this one, scroll up, and we can say, what I do most of the time is say Unreal Engine include, or I forgot a hash mark. So here we have the path, and I think what we need to do is remove all the stuff here and say engine slash, then it should be able to compile the stuff. So do we have errors? No, we don't. Amazing. So let's restart the editor. Where is the editor? So let me start it quickly. Yeah, it takes some time as well, but I opened the project once, so it's not that slow. It's the splash screen is on the other screen, so I will move it immediately to the screen, the recording screen. So where is it? Yes, it moves us for us. Oh yeah, we want to open the assets we were working before on, and here we close this one and we use this one here. Sorry. The dump socket stuff. Where's the dump socket function? So let me see if it works. Dump sockets. So does it work? Compile, save everything, and then we go to the UE5 Manny. Where's the UE5 Manny? It's in characters, mannequins. No, it's not the UE5 Manny. We need the skeleton from ALS. So here we can do a right click, scripted asset actions, character tools, and we say dump sockets. Dump sockets. Did something amazing for us. Here's the last line. So we have 3 sockets in ALS, 3 sockets. So if you click here on right click paste, then we will have 3 sockets. So that's the sockets. Yes. We can also check this if we open the skeleton mesh. Or not the skeleton mesh, the skeleton asset. And here we see those 3 sockets. So yeah, that's fine. So save everything. And now we have to code the other C++ functions. But at first let us finalize the stuff here in the blueprint world. So here we check for, let me see, yeah, let us promote this to a local variable as well to avoid crossing wires. So here we say L skeleton. L is for local basically, it's my coding convention in blueprints. So, and what we can do now is get the skeleton, of course, and we call the function has socket. And we split struct, click on split struct pin. So annoying. And here we say, yeah, we want to have the socket name. Wait. Oh, why can't I select this one here? What a pain. We say branch. So if we don't have the socket, we want to do something with the socket, right? And for that, we say add socket. Add socket. And we just route them here. So what I do now is to make it a little bit prettier is if you do double click here and move those wires. And what we can do now is select everything and press the Q button, Q key. Or move it a little bit more up, looks more great. So move this to the right, and we can press Shift A or here Shift A to move them here. But to be honest, I like them more when they're here, those wires. So, and if we select everything from here, we can also press the Q key to align everything. Then it looks great. So let me check if I forgot something. Let me quickly check. Yeah, here you could also introduce error message if you want. I will skip that part as well, because yeah, to make it more convenient for you guys. So basically this happens if you already have the socket name. So if you try to set them twice, and then I think we are fine on this side. Let me check. This one is also done. This one is done. This one is done. So yeah, we only need to do the C++ side. So the C++ side. Let me get the Visual Studio window again. So dump virtual bones worked as expected. And yeah, sure, that's the one we coded in the last session before, but dump sockets, that's what I meant. So, and here I want to work with has socket. And has socket is a very small function. Let me get the code. So this time we will not introduce. No, we will introduce. That's way better for you to follow. Check input arguments like usual. Do this at first. Wrong function. Here, check input arguments. Check if socket is already present. And for that, we will use the following. Check input argument, and here we can also get the error message from above. Add socket, has socket, has socket. Called has socket with invalid skeleton, so you will get bored as well. It's always the same stuff we use as error messages here, and also has socket. Oh yeah, let's use this one here. That's way better. Has socket with invalid socket name. So name none is not a valid socket name. And then we can do the following and go on with this loop. So, and also change the condition here. We say return false. And what we can do now is iterate over all sockets, of course. And then we get the socket pointer and check if it is valid. I think what we can do here as well is use this one, if I remember it correctly. And simplify this stuff here a little bit. Yeah, that's way better. So, and then we can check if the socket name has the same name which we tried to use here in the argument, then we return true, because socket is already there, and we don't want to have sockets with multiple sockets with the same name. So basically this function is also done. And then we can go on and try to add a socket. So, and if we add a socket, it's the same stuff, so we copy this over. Yeah, that's the same stuff here. Basically, we can just get the code here and save a little bit of time. So we check for the socket name, and we need also to check the bone name. So here we check the bone name, call the socket with invalid bone name, bone name, and then we check if the socket is already there. So what we could do is to simplify the stuff a little bit. I think if we just try to call this function again and say if has socket, and the first name is the socket name, of course, and then the skeleton. And here we return false because this is an error. This is an error. And here we say called has, oh no, it's not has socket, it's add socket. Sorry, let's quickly improve the error message here. Add socket called as call. No, tried to add the socket. So here we can do the following to print a string, and for socket name, comma to string. There we also need to star. Try to add the socket. No, let's do it differently. So where we already did this one here is way better. And we say here. So skeleton does already contain the socket. So yeah, let's use this one. That's way better. Socket. And we need this one here. Then we are almost done with the checks. So these are the checks. Skeleton does already contain the socket. It's an error. So then we can skip this part here, which is not so great. So the next step is that we, of course, introduce the socket to the skeleton. To the skeleton. And then we can use these lines of code. I will explain them immediately. And here we say following notify the editor that the skeleton was changed. So skeleton mesh sockets are the following. We need to call this new object function and give it a type. It's a template basically. and we need to say what is the parent object or the outer object. I think that's how it is called in Unreal Engine. Yes, it's the outer object. So that yeah, this is for garbage collection. So if you get here, you create a new object basically, and it needs to be attached to the skeleton. So if the skeleton is deleted, this socket also needs to be deleted from the garbage collector. And then we can set the bone name, socket name, relative location, relative rotation, relative scale. That's what we get from our transform. And then, as we already saw, it's an array. We need to say add socket. And then we modify the package. I think this one could also be a little bit simplified. I think we can here call modify directly. So, and then we have also our add socket function. And if we go back to, no, not move this to other screen. If you go back to the editor, okay, go to the level and then click on this recompile live coding button here. That's so much better in Unreal Engine 5 than it was in Unreal Engine 4. It's so fast. It was modified, and now let's check if it already works. So if we go to the character, which you can do here, character as no characters, mannequins, meshes, and here we have the skeleton, and here we click on right click, encrypted asset action character tools, and we want to introduce the, where is it, add sockets. So it modifies the skeleton, and let's see if the sockets are there. So where are the sockets? Does it work? Yes, here have the first camera, first person camera, camera trace left, camera trace right. So, and as we have the same bone rotations, it's the same relative transform. Yes, so basically I could say we are done now in the session. So we can now add virtual bones through a data table, and we can add sockets through data tables as well. And this is very convenient if you are trying to integrate many characters into ALS. And yeah, it avoids doing the right clicks here, because I hate this one as well. Right click, add socket. You don't have to do this anymore. So, and for the next, let's quickly check what is working on the character. So as we see, the dancing stuff is gone. It's great, right? Dancing stuff is gone. But we have some issues with the feet. So I'm not sure why it, but they are slightly above the ground. So there we need to check. That's what we will do in the next session. So happy coding to you and all the success, and I hope you really like the content I'm creating here. So it's a bit complex, but yeah, as you see, it is really helpful if you have such tools. See you.